Okay, so hope everyone understands me very well. Also in the back, even the people are still eating. So I'm Joe, right in front of the. This actually is a picture taken from Waffles here. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. The thing that triggered me was actually the kind of crazy title. It's nonsensical, so I thought, okay, this is a place I have to be. Wurst, Windmills and Waffles. So I tried to do a forced fitting and only used German words to make a presentation. It's a tryout for me as well. I will not speak German. I do understand German quite well, but speaking is a bit harsh. But last couple of weeks I encountered quite some German inspiration in things I've been seeing or studying. So that's the story for today. And no worries, it's related to entrepreneurship and the things that we're doing with the web. Some way. But before we go, so that's me, work at Nascom. I will frighten you a bit more even. I do like books and I don't have a Facebook account. I do have one, but it will be hard to find me. It's hidden. If you don't move, the algorithm doesn't find it that easily. So I like books. And I also love boats. I like to sail. Books and boats is the ideal combination. So, first word. This is a guy, he's from the 80s. Around the same period, there was this German sociologist, Ulrich Beck, who wrote a book, Risikogesellschaft. I like this word, so I can speak German for once now. Risikogesellschaft was written somewhere in 1986. Who's before 1986 and who's born after 1986?
He's the only one before 1986.
So, people who were born in the 70s, they maybe know what happened in 1986. We couldn't eat our lettuce from the garden anymore because of the radiation falling down from Chernobyl. So Ulrich Beck wrote a book about risk. About the fact that risk actually, in the 80s and also before, became a very democratic thing. So risk, and especially environmental risk, everyone can suffer from it. Right? So radioactivity, doesn't matter if you're poor or rich, if you have €1 million on your bank account or not, you will suffer from it. So that's one of the things that he encountered, and he said, this risk is different from the risk before. The risk before came from nature. Suddenly it was there. This is risk that's man-made. It's not only man-made, it can be on such a huge scale that it can be really apocalyptic. Okay. I thought this is the 80s, but if you listen now to Jeremy Rifkin, the German political activist, you don't have to agree with all the stuff he says. I don't. Same for Ulrich Beck. It's not only always fact-based. But he's referring to the same thing. He says, okay, we need to have this third revolution. Risk is something omnipresent. So, but then again, I go back even further. So
is that
risk,
German?
That's not German. It's not German actually, it's Latin. But risk, Latin leads to this control paradigm. Most of you want to start with a company or already busy or having big companies, smaller companies, I don't know. Someone who has a big company, really big, like IBM scale, no? Yes? The thing is, most big companies, they very much focus on control. Right? So control is also a dominant paradigm, has been a dominant paradigm in 80s, 90s, 2000s, and even now. Within administration, it's still a dominant paradigm. And then comes in the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur, without risk is kind of the oil that keeps the engine running. It's because of the fact that there is risk and uncertainty that we can be an entrepreneur. If everything is very easy to do, if there is no risk involved, there is no entrepreneurship. So, but the foul Ergosum dates back from Augustinus. Augustinus, he said, if I fail, I exist. And so everyone is talking these days about fail early, fail fast, lean startup things, everyone. So it's old, everything is old actually. And so this is also dates back to 480. Augustinus already said it. So, but do so. fail, do try, go ahead. Then another thing, and that's I think typical for me, I was quite late. I started being an entrepreneur in 2005, 2006 with a video and audio streaming company named Rambla, named to the Spanish Barcelona de Ramblas, which means in Old Spanish stream. We started this company, really typical 2005, it was my first thing I did, kind of a garage thing. My friend and me, I started looking yesterday evening for the original pizza cardboard, where we made the business plan on. I didn't find it anymore, so I recently removed. But actually that was the piece of paper where everything started with. And that's one of the most important things I learned. We also went to Unizo, it's, in Flanders, it's an intermediate organization that helps you to make a business plan. What I learned there is forget about business plans. Especially those days, business plans were really like, take pieces of paper, and we only had this cardboard, where we just started working, doing, trying. And afterwards, after 1 year, if we looked at it, it was a kind of a mind map. Many of the things that we set as targets, we did accomplish. Not in the right timing, not in the right order, but things happened. So, the veranderjaren is something that I heard from a CEO from Audi Brussels. And something I admire is like the veranderjaren means like Germans, maybe they can translate it.
Translate it.
It's not German.
It's not German.
I mean, Jahren is German, it means years.
Yes.
And wandern means walking.
Yes.
But Verwanderjaren, there's no such thing.
Yes. So it's about the principle that they apply within Volkswagen is that you have the right, or they even kind of push you to, if you're an engineer or an operator, to go to another country also. For example, you go to Mexico and Brazil, have some work experience there as well, and you get back. And I think it's really a nice concept, so I thought, okay, let's use this. And I actually, after I heard this, I found some companies up in the Nordics, in Scandinavia, who are doing similar work than us. And I asked them, why don't we set up this kind of exchange program? We have very good front-end designers, you have them, let's exchange them. Especially, this is a sexist remark, so disclaimer, especially some of the guys, they would love to go to the tall, blonde, and Swedish women. So, why don't we do this? And they said, oh yeah, this is a good idea. Exactly. And even for designers, many people, we can switch like 3-month periods, blend them in teams. So I stole the idea and we're going to apply it. So it's an easy thing.
When are you going to start?
When in the after summer. Yeah. Then another one. Also from the, I think even 70s and 80s. Also a word I stole from the Germans, it's Bildung. We, last couple of years, we focused very much on T-shaped people. Yeah, we see people frowning like, oh guy, you're using so many buzzwords. That's why I try to mix them with old stuff and German stuff as well. T-shaped.
These are two different things.
I know. T-shaped people are, you can compare it with an I-shape. An I-shape profile is someone who has very in-depth knowledge, who's very good at something. For example, he's a very good project manager, or is a very good back-end developer. Okay? So the next thing is T-shaped is you have also some expertise in domains that are related to your domain. Not only expertise, but you're interested as well. So a front-end developer, he is interested also in design. He's not like us, stupid designers, or he's not like, no. And it also has to do with your team quality, your soft skills, to cooperate in a team. The term itself, it dates back from the States, ideal, but actually it's even further ago. Bildung, the Germans, again, they were first, I think. And so Bildung is different than Ausbildung. Ausbildung is the E. It's like you are you're skilled in being a carpenter. And Bildung is more the broad sense of, in Dutch, following. I don't know it in English.
Anyone?
General education.
Education, yeah, but
General education.
General education. And it was again Ulrich Beck in a documentary who referred to it. This is a German tradition. Okay, you're a mathematician, but you also should be aware of your societal, everything around you. I think it's a nice concept. We're always, we don't work in an empty space, you work always in a context. So the best metaphor to describe this is the metaphor of the cathedral. And you see one guy who's collecting stones and putting them on top of each other, and you ask him, what are you doing? I'm going to see it, I'm just putting the stones. The next one, he says, oh, I'm making a wall. And the third one says, don't you see, I'm making a cathedral. That's the whole point. Even if you do, especially if you are into agile development, it's very, you give a lot of freedom degrees to the agile team, to the developers, but they need to see the big context. If not, they make wrong decisions. It's hard. So it's more and more demanding, I think, for developers. Being just a brilliant developer for me is not enough anymore. Being a brilliant designer is not enough anymore. You should be aware of much more than that. So that's also one of the things we focus very much on if we hire people, is the attitude indeed to keep a broad spectrum. So Bildung. And then the Mitbestimmung part is also something I learned from the Audi CEO speech guy. As you know, for example, what we did in Nascom is we have self-directed teams. They decide on timing, they decide on the tasks they do, they decide on the techniques they will use. They have their free time, and it works best. What we see is that the quality of the work that we deliver is improved dramatically. Also, the quality of the perception of the client, so the net promoter score, it improved incredibly. So the Mitbestimmung part, again, we think, agile, in California they write brilliant books about it, Euregio started all this stuff, but it's old. I think it dates back far, some decades ago. So the Mitbestimmung part on unions, and that's also, I think, something I don't understand, to have indeed this in Belgium, the contradiction between a worker and an employee. I think what you should strive for, and this is my ambition for the next years to come, we did make the move from being in a controlled paradigm to getting autonomous and having self-directed teams, and I think the next step will indeed be also to have like workers' participation within the company, because I think it's a crucial part, and you see it also within Europe. Cooperative principles. Don't say you need to have a cooperative structure. What I mean is cooperative principles that the co-workers indeed have participation in the company. And I don't mean bonuses. This is again the American style. The American way, they have a carrot. That's not the way. I think it has more to do with purpose, to find and look for a shared purpose, and then you will get people motivated to do so. It's not about having this carrot of a brilliant bonus and an earn-out when you get taken over. So, Mitbestimmung. I think I'm ready. And then I had one last quote, but there I need a paper for it. Because I really like it. It's from Goethe. And I will read it in German. Yeah. So, here it goes. Behandle die Menschen so, als waren sie, was sie sein sollten, und du hilfst ihnen zu werden, was sie sein können. So, I think it's very, yes, thank you. I think it's a very, very good quote. Again, what's his date of birth, Goethe? Come on! 1700? No. 60?
18.
No. 1874, 18th century. Anyway, long time ago. So, the moral
the internet.
before,
Yes, way before. After and before.
the moral of my story actually is like, if you are an entrepreneur, strategy is very important, but there is this other, he's not German, he was Austrian, Peter Drucker. He said like, culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's all about culture. And it's all about culture within the company. It's all about also, here's a heavy word, moral values that you need to have. And I think these are the cornerstones and the main ingredients to make your company really blossom. So that's basically my story. And I didn't tell you what Nascom actually does, but we can talk about that later, or you can ask me questions later on.
We ask questions right now.
Right now.
But you can also ask questions later on.
Okay.
So I'll kick off. I mean, you started your own streaming business, Warmla, like a startup.
Yeah.
And now you're a CEO. What happened?
What happened? The streaming business was nice. We started in those days where I got the question, typically, I think, from which university are you a spin-off? Because in those days it was impossible to just start a company. So I got angry because of this question very often. So we started the two of us. We quickly evolved to having 4 or 5 people. We did several live streams. Within Belgium, we were one of the first. We managed to be cited by Jeff Bezos, Amazon, where we were one of the first in 2007 to use the Amazon Elastic Cloud to stream. And people from Amazon, they phoned me and they said, "What on earth are you doing? What's happening?" And so what we were doing, we were pushing like 60 gigabytes per second through their network. So they were really like holding the table like, is everything still okay? But this was really tense. We did it because of the birth of a baby elephant in the zoo of Antwerp. We had 320,000 people watching it, from Argentina to Chile to... I was amazed. I said, why are people watching at the ass of an elephant hours and hours? But apparently there was so much emotion involved, they did it. What's also interesting is how we solved this was completely based on the cloud principles. Like if we did it the normal way, because we didn't know when the elephant was going to be born. It could have been, I will answer your question later. This is a nice story, it's the last one I tell you. But it could be in a period of 3 months time frame. So you could solve it the classical way with the economy of scarcity, and you say, okay, we'll have this big pipe here of 10 gigabytes constantly available. It would have cost you millions and millions of euros those days. Bandwidth was still very expensive. So, very expensive solution. But we said, no, you have to solve the logistical bit. We'll make like this little party tent, and we have constantly 5 gigabytes available. We have the overcapacity. And then we scale up. We scale up with Amazon, and we send out the emails in spurts. Like not everyone is immediately. So we moved up to 180 virtual servers, and it was really like, really nice case. And Jeff Bezos cited. He said like, this is what the cloud is meant for, and so it's a nice story. It was nice, but it was too much focused on only technology. And then Nascom, where here is my predecessor, my former CEO, Philip. He knocked on the door and said, "Hey, why don't you join us?" And because within Nascom, I could play a broad field. It's not only about the technical part of streaming and audio and video and encoding, it was much broader. So I switched and then became responsible for sales, business development, strategy.
What happened to Ramla?
It's still up and running, doing very well.
Who runs it? Is Nascom running it? Or?
No. The
Frank?
Hans, one of my the co-founder, he's still running it with 3 people. So Mickey's took over my role. They're doing very well.
Great.
So
A great pitch, but it would be helpful if you could explain in 10 seconds what Nascom is, because it put things much more in perspective.
Well, I know, I forgot to tell you about that. It's very important.
10 seconds is enough.
10 seconds. We design, we build, and we operate all kinds of digital services, and we start from a user-centered view. So it could be like e-commerce portals, games. It could be Tomorrowland website, for example. You know Tomorrowland, the dance festival. We built the site, we built the API on top of it, the mobile applications. What we mainly do is we design complete web enterprise architectures, and then all the different touch points we develop, and maintain and operate. Is this clear?
For 10 seconds, it's clear enough.
Yeah. We do this for many customers.
So more questions?
I know it was kind of philosophical, I'm sorry. But the German language, that's so beautiful.
Germans should have some questions.
No German questions, maybe
if you would start a business right now, if you would start today, Nascom is just gone from now on. If you have to start a business right now, what kind of business
in
would you
health.
start? In health?
Yeah.
And why?
What?
In health sector.
Oh, help.
Why? Because it's all, one of the, I think, key ingredients for Nascom also is behavior, human behavior. Right? So you have the hardware layer, the infrastructure, you have the software layer, for example, how to manage, for example, the hardware layer. You could translate it also, you have a smart city concept. The hardware layer is the infrastructure, the cars, the roads, everything. Okay. Then you have the software layer. You can have smart applications in sharing cars, sharing stuff. But I think that the most important thing, and then I'll relate to the health, is the culture-aware layer. People have to start behaving differently if they want to share. This is where the real challenges are, I think on the border, also on the technical level. The technical level is much more mechanistic. It's, you can almost predict it, while on the application level and the cultural level, it's much more what will happen, and I like that. So health also because of the fact that it's really, there you can combine all these things of behavior. You have behavioral data, you have genetic data. The combination of the two proves to be potentially very powerful, very delicate as well, but there's a lot of things possible there.
So you've been speaking about sharing, but you're not on Facebook, so how do you share? I mean, you're standing right here, that's a way of sharing, but how do you share during the day?
At work, or
just in general?
In general, at work we use the typical stuff like Jammer, but Karen is here as well, and I have to do her a favor, and she was sending me emails, and it was not working because of, I don't very much believe in digital stuff to communicate. I really don't. It's good as a fallback mechanism, but not to communicate. It's worthless. I think what works much better is indeed like within the company we have information radiators, and there is one big one. It's titled Showtime, where we have to put on the projects that will go live, and everyone is passing through it like 10 times a day. So you can't simply not say, oh, I didn't know this project was going live. Also because we have this principle, not a rule, but a principle, muito in Dutch. It's a nice word. I really cannot translate it in English. Get involved, it's too soft. Muito is really like, muito. Yeah, maybe.
Muito, after.
Get involved. Get it? Muito. Moeie. It's Belgian. It's Belgian, I know.
Oh, you're twice as strict in Dutch.
Again, it's a principle. Like, if you see something that's not okay, even if it's not your field, it's not your responsibility, you're entitled to, frankly, slap someone on the back and say, hey, this is wrong, this should not be like this. So the same for the Showtime customer. So how do we share? I believe very much in sharing. People only learn when there is emotion involved. If there is no emotion involved, you don't learn. It's just like the cigarette package where you see it's cognitive dissonance. You read it, goes in here, goes out there, done. Didn't do any effect. So it's the same for if you want to share, you need to really put effort into it.
It's quite a statement for someone from who runs a digital agency to say well, sharing is not, you don't share online, you share it offline.
We do share online also, but that's only the starting point. I don't believe you make things happen by just sharing online.
It's not enough.
Otherwise, this would not be, you would not organize this either.
No.
It's about meeting people, having ideas and be it like a quickie, but no. What was the idea? Quick. Yeah. Quick. It doesn't get worn on an online platform. It gets worn with a beer and at a table, talking, and to find a common purpose, a common goal. I think that's the most important form of sharing. Not Facebook or Twitter. Boy. No, it's okay. It's not my fault.
Thank you very much, Jo. You will be around, I guess?
I will be around.
Okay.